A Planet's Ransom, Chapter 29, Preparations for a New Start. This time, the shuttle ride was shorter, even if it still didn't take us anywhere I expected to go. We left the planet. We were still restrained, and we were still separated by our escorts, but the atmosphere in the shuttle was different. For one thing, I don't think I was the only one to cry over losing their keeper. Sue Lynn and Blossom had shed tears too, and Taylor. I don't know about Saeed or Davo or Mitch. The trip was too short for conversation, but I don't think that mattered. We were ushered into medical on arrival and given a cubicle of our own while we were poked, prodded, examined, and interviewed. It was the interviews that I came to dread the most. "You've got the visors!" I exclaimed. "Go watch the recordings." "But it's not the same as hearing it from you," the interviewer had insisted, and taken me through my attack on the heritage once again. They even made me go over my conversations with Blossom and Sue Lynn and Taylor about differences, and they'd recorded what I'd said to the first heritage soldier I'd encountered. "All one big happy world, is that it?" my interviewer wanted to know, to which I'd replied, "We're all just people." After a week or three, they told us they were sending us back. "But why?" "Because we have a reputation to keep," the yvernatch commander had said. The heritage were right about that. If we lose our reputation, then we really are going to have to do more killing when we encounter others. We'd rather not. "But our families," I'd started and been cut off, "will be coming to join you as part of a special settlement program." "Will they be volunteers?" I asked, and the yvernatch had at least looked a little bit ashamed. "Not exactly," it said, "but they'll be chosen to volunteer for the good of the many, that sort of thing." "They won't like it," I warned him, but he gave me an odd, lizardy smile. "I'm sure they'll forgive us," he said. "After all, you'll be waiting to meet them and introduce them to the rest of the colonists." And that was when I registered the part about our families coming to join you. "They're coming to join us?" I asked, and the yvernatch dipped its head in affirmation. "Of course." "When?" "When you have all reached a sufficient level in your training." Of course it was. I felt my sudden happiness evaporate, and that was when the yvernatch dropped its second surprise on us. "Which brings me to the second point. Your training will be accelerated. Your encounter with the heritage has highlighted the need for a visible planetary liaison, as well as some form of protective force being present on the planet. We will provide that. You will be receiving assistance in setting up the infrastructure you require for level 25. He paused, looking smug. "Provided, of course, you can complete the articulated training." "How long?" I demanded. "Including time to draft the volunteers and ship them out?" he asked. "2 years, but—" and he stilled our jubilation with an upraised claw. "But we'll keep them in orbit until you've completed the necessary tasks. We cannot ship them down unless you can prove you're ready." I looked at Mitch, Davo, Taylor, Blossom, Sue Lynn, and Saeed, and then realized something else. "And Alicia?" At this, his face grew solemn. "We will retrieve her and try to save her, but the outcome is not guaranteed." I nodded. It was both as good and as bad as I had expected. After that, there was only one more thing I could think to ask. "Are we the only ones?" At this, the yvernatch shook his head. "No," he said, and forestalled my next question. "You were the first, and there are another 1,665 you'll need to find. After that, we'll be sending the next wave down in pods when you have reached the appropriate level of training. They will go through a short time of isolation, just as you did, and then they will be tasked with finding and reaching you, which will help them make the adjustments from the lives they knew to the lives they will have." I wanted to argue against it, but even I could see the sense in that. Our lives had changed. Our whole world. Everything we were or could ever hope to be was gone. And just because our families would be allowed to join us didn't mean we were out of the woods yet. The human race had made it to the stars. We'd been dragged there, kicking and screaming, and we had a lot to learn. The only difference between when we'd been taken and now was that we, the colony I now led, had proved ourselves a little more trustworthy than the rest. We'd earned ourselves a huge step ahead, but we were still planet bound. We'd had a taste of the stars. If we wanted to walk among them, we'd have to earn the right, just like we'd earned the right for accelerated training and protection from the predators we hadn't known existed. I reached a hand toward Mitch and wondered just exactly how I was going to pull this off. But it wasn't until we all stepped into the shuttle and he wrapped an arm around me that I realized I wasn't going to have to do it on my own.